Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday night sharing circle. So tonight we have three sections. We got a sharing section, and then we got question and answer or discussion section, and finally Jiawen will be talking about the partridge letters. So tonight we are fortunate to have Jeff to give us his sharing talk. Jeff lives in China and he's got some very interesting sharing tonight. So let's pass it over to Jeff then.
Hello everyone, can you hear me okay?
Jeff, would you like to share your screen?
Yep, I'll just try and do that now.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that working okay?
That's good.
Okay. I know there's some people on the call, maybe English isn't first language, and yeah, I'm from the UK, so we have a habit of talking too fast. We forget. So if I do start talking too fast, if someone just lets me know, and I'll try and slow down again. It's a bad habit I have. But yeah, today I just thought I might share my path, what I call finding the path to the Pure Lands. And I thought I would start off by just making clear that I am very, very new to to Buddhism, and especially to Pure Land Buddhism. So don't ask me any difficult questions. Jiawen is the right person maybe to answer the difficult questions. But I thought it might be interesting just to share with the group how I arrived at this group and discovering Pure Land. So preparing for the talk, it really made me think about that, because maybe I hadn't thought about that for quite a long time. And when I thought about it, I realized that there was several big events that happened in my life that kind of brought me to where I am now. These events really were linked together. And some of them quite unusual, maybe, and perhaps I wouldn't feel so comfortable talking about these events unless it was with a group like this, where I think some of you probably have experienced something similar. So I'm sure you'll understand. Let me find out how to move. Bear with me. Okay, so the first thing that really happened to me was back in school. In primary school, and I remember, even to this day, it was quite a long time ago. I'm 44 years old now, but I think I was about 8 years old, and this is in my school in Oxford in the UK. And I still remember this event very, very clearly. And up until the day in school, everything had felt very normal to me. There's no problem. Very happy child. Just a normal little boy, no problem. And I remember it was getting close to the summer holiday. I think we have 6 weeks off school in the summer, and we were getting close to this time. And then I was having playtime with my best friend at the time, and he said something to me. And it was for a little boy of 8 years old, it was really interesting. And he said to me, he said, "Have you ever thought that maybe it's Christmas Day and we're dreaming all of this, and your parents, your mum and dad are trying to wake you up because it's Christmas Day, and they can't wake you up. And he said these words to me, and I'd never thought something like that ever, and it never occurred to me. But I remember I put the picture here of a hammer smashing a mirror. It was a little like that for me at the time, and it was the first time that I really had my perception of reality questioned and challenged. Maybe everything around me wasn't quite what I thought it was, and I wouldn't say it bothered me. It didn't cause me a lot of problem, but it just made me always think. From that point on, I had this idea that maybe reality wasn't quite what I thought it was. And so this was really my first experience at 8 years old. After school, in primary school, everything was still okay. I was again a very happy little boy, no problem at all. But as I kind of got a little older, maybe about 11 years old, I think it started. I started having this kind of feeling of being a little detached from everything. I didn't have any health problems, no real mental health problems, nothing like that. This isn't really a negative feeling so much, but from time to time in certain situations, I definitely felt a feeling of being slightly removed from what everybody else was experiencing as reality. And it was something like, I put here a picture of like brain fog. It was something like that there was something cloudy in the way of my perception. It wasn't like this all of the time. It was just in certain situations I might find that this occurs. And then this picture here is kind of looking through a windscreen when you're driving, and sometimes if it's a lot of rain, you get this, like we call it fog, on the glass. And to me, it was something like that. When I'm looking out and talking to people and having conversations, I really started to get this feeling of being not quite in the same room. And again, it wasn't really it didn't really feel like a sort of mental problem or anything like that. It was just a different perception of reality. And I think from about 11 to 18, this feeling continued. And it actually, as I got into my later teenage years, it maybe did start to worry me a little bit. I wasn't, clearly this was unusual, and other people didn't seem to have this kind of feeling. But again, in certain circumstances, I kind of had this feeling. And I think at that point, I started to try and explore about what maybe was causing this, and about why it was happening, and maybe how I could what it meant as well. What did it mean? And then when I was 19 years old, I think it was about 19. I was 19 years old. I had kind of like my first real breakthrough experience. Something really amazing happened, and I'd been. I think I was studying for my driving test, I think, if I remember rightly. And I remember it was in summertime, and I was sat in the lounge in a room in my house, and I've been thinking about a lot of different things that were going on. I had a few different stresses in my life, nothing very serious, but I remember I was studying for this driving test, and thinking that it was maybe I want to pass, and Maybe I was a little too stressed and calming myself down. And I walked out into the garden. So, in UK, we most of the houses will have a garden outside, just outside in the back. And I went out into the garden, and a 19-year-old guy had absolutely no interest in gardening or flowers or anything at that time. It didn't mean anything to me. But I saw this little wildflower growing in just near some rocks in the garden, and I went up to the flower for some reason, and I started looking into this flower. And I'd never done this in the first 19 years of my life. I'd never really looked at a flower before. I'd of course seen flowers many times, but never really looked into the flower before. And I don't know why I did it. There was no one else around, but I did. So I found this flower outside, and I started to really, really look in the center of the flower for some reason. And there's an amazing experience happened. And it's very difficult to try and explain in words, but I'll try. First of all, there was a very strange feeling of time passing when I was looking deep into this flower. So I'm to this day, I'm not sure how long this whole experience lasted. It may have been a few seconds, or it may have been many minutes, or maybe longer. I really don't know. But what I can tell you is I had this feeling of almost infinite time in this experience. It was very, very amazing experience. And as I was looking into the flower, I saw all the individual elements, like this center here. And I could see almost the spaces in between, or the different seeds inside the flower. And I totally saw like the beauty of the object in a very, very amazing way. And I saw that something like the infinity of life at that particular time. And I realized that infinity kind of went in both directions. It can be a very big number, a very small number. It's still kind of the same. And as this kind of contemplation started, I completely left my own body. And I remember we were talking in a past talk about out of body experience, people near death. And it was something like that. I completely left my own body behind for a period of time. And this is a very strange thing to say, but again, I think the group might understand what I'm trying to say here. But for some period of time, I felt like I kind of knew the answer to any question whatsoever. Everything became very, very clear to me. I had something like a moment of clarity. And I just want to say that I was not doing any drugs or not drinking, or there was nothing like that at all. But I also had a feeling of total peace. And I remember thinking that everything was okay, and that everything was going to be okay. No matter what happened, everything was perfect. And the other feeling there was that everything was connected in some way. I could kind of see this, the oneness of everything, everything was all connected. And looking in this flower, I kind of felt like all the answers to everything was in this one flower. That it could tell you everything you needed to know just by kind of having this experience. And I could look at almost anything and it would feel the same way. So again, I'm no idea how long this experience lasted, whether it was seconds or minutes or even an hour. I really don't know. But eventually I kind of, let's say, came back to reality, or maybe the opposite. I'm not sure. But I kind of came back and just left with this incredible feeling of being calm, and again, just feeling like everything was always going to be good. There was never going to be a problem. Well, we would have problems, but they're not real problems, a different perspective on everything. So anyway, so I carried on from this point, from 19 years old, and I really started trying to search for, this experience again, and finding out what it meant, and trying to understand it a lot more. And I read a few books and things like that, but I didn't know anything about Buddhism at this time. I didn't know where to turn to. I didn't have anybody I felt like I could talk to about this experience without them maybe thinking I've gone crazy. And I certainly didn't feel crazy whatsoever. I felt the opposite of crazy. Felt like I've really seen reality for the first time. Well, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, no, maybe about, say 10 years ago, I started to, I read a book by Eckhart Tolle, or Eckhart Tolle, the German writer who experienced some form of awakening, and I'm sure many of you know him, and he's quite famous, and I happened to read one of his books, and then it really resonated with my own experience. It was very similar, even though he experienced this over a long time, and I had just something like a brief taste of this. For sure, I could see that there was big similarities between what he was saying, what he experienced, and my experience. And then reading through his book, it pointed a lot towards Buddhism, and so eventually I plucked up the courage to go to a Buddhist group. And all through my life I've been an atheist, so it's something that I'd actively avoided, but I felt compelled to try and go with an open mind. And I visited the Sri Ratna Buddhist community in Oxford, and I went to a couple of talks there, and I think I did like a introduction to mindfulness course or something like that. And it's very good. I enjoyed it very much, and for me, not knowing anything about anything, it seemed to be a very good way, a good introduction to Buddhism, and I learned quite a lot. And but the problem I think I had was that it was very much a Western style of Buddhism, a modern style of Buddhism, and it mixed a lot of different schools together, and they were interpreted by the founder Sangharakshita, who's an Englishman, traveled across India in the 1950s, I think, and he'd kind of learnt Buddhism there, and then he really developed his own style. And I think sometimes the interpretation was really looking through the lens of one man, and I found that a little difficult. There wasn't much encouragement really of reading the original sutras. Really, it was about reading the founder's own books, which is of course his own interpretation, and I found it a little limiting. I still participate sometimes. I watch some of their content. It's very good, but it wasn't quite for me. And then I continued with Sri Ratna for a period of time until maybe 2 years ago, when I'm at the age of 42, and I went to visit the Lingyin Temple in Hangzhou here in China. And I'd been there before. My wife is Chinese, and she'd taken me there a couple of years previous, and it's obviously a very beautiful temple. It's stunning. It's amazing. And but we actually took my mother there. It was her first time in China, so she came to visit, and we took her again to the temple. And this is where I'm very ignorant, so my Chinese friends, I'm sure, will tell me where I'm going wrong. But the sort of the real big experience, next really big experience, occurred at the temple when we were visiting. And lots of tourists everywhere, but we went past the hall here, which I'm not sure I know the real word. We went past the hall, and actually this is a video, but I don't think it will play. I'll explain why this is a video in a minute. But within the picture, you can see that all the doors were closed. And well, I was just walking around taking photographs, and then I heard this music coming from the temple. And like I say, it's all closed, so there's no tourists in there, but I could hear the music. And of course, it was the musical chanting by the nuns, I think, or lay people who were using the temple. And I had another sort of amazing experience then. So I could hear this from a little distance away, and I became very drawn to get to finding where the source was. And because it's quite a big area, right? There's lots of like altars and different buildings all the way through the temple. So I went off. I left my mum and my wife, and I went running off. For some reason, I had to find this music, and I got closer and closer. And I found it from this building. Again, all the doors and the windows are closed, so I can't see in, but I could just hear the music. And luckily, I thought to take a video. So I won't play the video, but I took a video so I could capture the sound. And there was something about the music and the chanting that was, which I didn't know. I didn't know what was being said in the chanting, but I absolutely knew. I knew it already, right? So in one way, it was the first time I'd definitely ever heard it before in my life. But in another way, I knew this chant. It was somewhere really deep in here, and absolutely certainly it was. I just knew it. I knew that at some point this has been a part of my life. It was very difficult to explain. I didn't know anything really about the temple that I was visiting, other than, some of the history and reading some of the signs. They have the famous grotto here and the different statues. So I knew a little bit about the history, but I didn't know anything about really the form of Buddhism being practiced here at this time. So I knew that I had to find out. So I took the video of the temple to capture the music. And I had the same feeling as I did here with the flower. The time really stood still, and I just had this just overwhelming feeling of peace and contentment, and again, everything was okay. Everything was going to be okay. So I ended up back in the UK maybe a week or so later, and as soon as I got back to the UK, I started listening to the recording I took. And again, I didn't understand the words. They're in what I thought was Chinese. So I did a lot of research, and then I started emailing the temple, desperate to try and find some more information. And eventually I found out they were chanting Namo Amituofo. And I didn't know what any of this meant. But after more and more research, and in the UK, Chinese Pure Land Buddhism is not well known at all. It's not well known at all. But after a little bit of time, I really started to research, get some answers. The next big thing, I was living in the UK at this time. The next big event that happened was I decided to move to China, and October last year I moved to China. I wouldn't say that it was purely to pursue Chinese Pure Land, but it was part of the reason I wanted to come back here and explore this a bit further. I definitely felt like there was some kind of connection here, so I persuaded my company to allow me to work from here, and created a job here so I would have something to do. And then, say my wife is Chinese, so I moved here. And then when I got here, I discovered a problem with my plan, and the problem with my plan is I can't speak Chinese, which is quite a big problem. So I was looking for the different, different temples, and I visited a lot of temples here, but it's very difficult if you can't speak Mandarin. And in the area I live in is people speak Cantonese. So then one day I happened to see the videos on YouTube, as we all have seen, and it was like some kind of prayer being answered, that I could find this connection and such wonderful explanation, and started getting the answers that I wanted. And straight away, I just started feeling this connection with this group and with the teachings that are being shared. So, yeah, bad luck, but Mandarin and Cantonese, yeah, and Dongguanese as well as a third variation. So yeah, so I found this group, and even though my knowledge is terrible, my memory is terrible, I can't ever remember anything I've learned. But the further I go down this path, the more comfortable I am with it. And I'd say originally, I think I found, let's say, the supernatural side of Pure Land a little difficult. I found it very difficult to start with, but I read a book by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Zen master, who wrote a book also on Pure Land, and I can find the name of the book if anybody wants to know. But it gave a very good account for Pure Land, and it spoke to the more supernatural side, but it also spoke a lot to the more kind of let's say natural side, and about finding, I think Jiawen calls it like the baby Pure Land, making our own baby Pure Land in the here and now as well. And that really resonated with me. And yeah, so I definitely feel like I've kind of arrived. And I'd say going back here, I think I've found the path to the Pure Land now. I think it's probably the right teachings for me. So yeah, that was my experience. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Yeah.
Well, that is so wonderful, and I'm really impressed by your stories and experiences. I'm just wondering, when you heard that chant, did you not ask your wife what it was? Like, she would have known or not?
Yeah, she possibly would. Yeah, I think she probably would. I guess I had a slight, I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but I had a slight feeling of, embarrassment is not the right word. It's not the right word, but I didn't want to be misunderstood, I guess. And since then, she's definitely helped me to, even though she doesn't believe, she doesn't follow Buddhism at all. You know, she's Chinese, you know, and a lot of Chinese don't follow any kind of religious path these days. But she definitely supports me now in terms of helping. You know, she drives me to a lot of temples to visit, and we always enjoy visiting those together. But yeah, at the time, I don't think it really occurred to me. Now you say it, it would have saved a lot of time, because you're right. She probably would have just known. You're right.
Yeah, so everything is stored in your layer consciousness. So when you hear the chant, then it just rings a bell that you have practiced it in the past. Right? So definitely not a coincidence that you have found it again in this life and sing to all of us. Yes. So very, very good story. Very impressive as well. And this PowerPoint is so well done.
Thank you. I would have forgotten everything if I hadn't put the PowerPoint together.
And is that why you don't want it to be uploaded to YouTube? Because I think your sharing will help a lot of people. But you think maybe a little bit.
Oh no, it's only no, it's not that. It's just that my account is associated. My name and account is associated for my work, so I have to be a little careful of my where my name is on the on. It's just YouTube in particular, but on the Google and Facebook, it's no problem at all.
Okay, understood. Thank you for the sharing.
No problem.
Jeff, can I ask a question?
Sure.
You mentioned that when you hear the chanting of Amitofo, it brings you back memories when you were 19 years old, the peacefulness and all these things. How long does this last? Is it the duration of the chanting while you're listening, or only for a short moment, or what?
It was that particular feeling was on this occasion here, the first time I heard the chanting. So I can't say that I have that same experience every time do the chanting, but it was the first time I heard the chanting. It brought me back to the experience I explained here. I have certainly had this before. This experience has happened maybe 3 or 4 times before. Sorry, since this time. But this was the most profound moment, definitely. And it seems to happen on contemplation of something. So I have had it happen in during meditation, sitting meditation, which I think is not unusual. I think quite a few people experience that during certain sitting meditation. Now, more the chanting I do, you know, I'm not very good at sitting meditation. But I have kind of just touched on this feeling since then.
Hi, Jeff. Amitabha. This is Calvin here. First of all, thank you so much for your sharing. I think it's wonderful. And also thank you for the efforts and the slides. And and yes, it brought back memories because I also went to the Lingying temple also. So when it brought back memories as well. It's really a beautiful temple there. Really very nice.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. And you know there's so much history there as well, and there's I don't want to use the word magic, but you know, there's so much has happened in this place, and there's been so many good people. You know, you just get this feeling, don't you, when you walk in? It's just such a very peaceful place as well. It did make me think as well when I started like looking back on the different experiences I had. I can remember thinking, is there anything that's kind of connecting these things together? And up until this point, I remember thinking, some of these experiences are happening in times of like stress, you know, when I'm feeling a little stressed. And then there's like this kind of maybe release from the stress, maybe something like that. But that was different here at the temple because, you know, I could not have been more relaxed. It was it was a lovely day, and, you know, with my family and walking around, it's no problem. But there was just this, it was something like a magnet that pulled me to the temple there. And I just knew in my heart that this song was already there. I knew it. It's a find it very difficult to talk about, to explain in words about that experience, you know. I can see Victoria, you said in the chat, you said that you had something. You may not want to talk, that's okay, but you said you had the same experience or something similar as well. And I actually find that a lot of people have, but maybe like I was a little hesitant to discuss, you know, to, like I say, this group's fine. Outside of this group, you know, people might not understand. But when I have told people about this, I find that other people have had similar experiences. It's, I think, a little more common than what we might think.
Amitabha, thank you, Jeff. And maybe you can share a little bit, maybe what are the benefits you experienced after you named 4, maybe?
Sure, yeah. So really, I'm not, like I said, I'm a terrible practitioner. Okay, so I'm maybe not the right person to ask, but really just this, if I get into this like mind, the benefit is just seeing everything kind of no separation between things. The phrase we have in the UK and I think in America as well is you have a moment of clarity, and you know, where everything is everything can be answered, and my belief is that you just see a glimpse of, just a taste of, a tiny glimpse of what it would be like to reach some form of enlightenment, you know, just a very small glimpse of it. And in my mind, what I thought was, you know, if you're a bodhisattva, you can be in this mind all the time. And I'm just, for some reason, not through good practice, that's for sure, because I'm terrible, but just for some reason, I just touched this for just a heartbeat, or maybe longer, I'm not sure how long. And you can just see everything. It's like seeing the whole universe. I can remember a time when I found it easier to kind of, I think when I was a little younger, I found it a bit easier to reach that, closer to that state through meditation than what I do now. I'm not sure why. I've been making more progress since I've been chanting than sitting meditation. But originally, when I started with sitting meditation, I could reach something closer to that state a lot easier. And after I'd come out of meditation, I'd find I could focus on anything, and I could achieve a lot. And I'm quite a creative person as well. So, you know, I write music, and I do other writing as well. And I found that was, found that all a lot easier. I don't know if that, I'm not sure if that answers the question. Probably not.
Amitabha, thank you so much. And yes, the Ling temple as well is very peaceful over there. I felt it too. In fact, the name actually translated in English is called the soul retreat. So it's actually kind of gateway for the soul actually. So gateway from the soul, and it's really a gateway and just to have a time for your own soul connection again. And yes, I one of the reasons why maybe it's younger for us to have connection is easier because probably when we are younger, we are more innocent, less affliction and less karmic obstacle. So it's easier for us to make the connection there. But when we started working and socializing and all the responsibility comes into place, so more afflictions, so more karmic obstacles. So it's actually more things to overcome to make the connection.
Yeah.
But yes, great experience, and it's really wonderful hearing your sharing. Thank you so much. Amitabha.
Amitabha, no problem. And maybe the last thing I'd say as well, I kind of forgot to use this phrase here, but I know this is the name of a book, and these words have been used many times, but I remember years later after this event, I found an album record called Heaven in a Wild Flower. And when I saw this, those words perfectly summed up what my experience had been. So those words have always stuck with me from that time, that if I only had a few words to sum up the experience, that's what I would say, that there was heaven in a wild flower, you know, you could see it. You could see everything in that one flower. Yeah, so it's a very, very special time indeed.
Yeah, also in Chinese Buddhism, I'm not sure whether other forms of Buddhism have this expression, but exactly like what you said, like, you know, when the Buddha reached enlightenment, like he realized, so there's this phrase, 一花一世界，一叶一天堂. It's like one flower, one world, one leaf, one heaven in Chinese. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, so like infinite worlds, upon worlds. It's the state of the Avatamsaka Sutra. I highly recommend you to read the Avatamsaka Sutra. It talk about all about this. Yeah, if you have this time.
Oh,
yeah.
Brilliant. I will do. I definitely will do. For sure, again, just to say the same thing again, the big realization was the infinite, that the infinite was everywhere. I don't know how to say that very well, but I could see that the infinite went inwards as well as outwards and in all directions. So it was like you could see, for that reason, you could see the universe in the center of the flower if you wanted to. It kind of didn't make any difference. You know, you could see that everything was was connected as well. It was almost as if you could experience that connection across everything, and definitely a sense of no body at that time. Definitely that sense and no affliction, no nothing. There was nothing to worry about. That was the thing that was most peaceful. That you just knew there was nothing to worry about at all. And I think that was the time as well. Just something else I remember is I think it was the first time I realized that not to fear being dead at all, you know, because it suddenly occurred to me that I'd been dead for most of my life, as in up until 19 years previous, I'd been dead for billions of years, you know, without any problem whatsoever. It'd never been a problem for me being dead. And of course, later on, I'm learning that perhaps my definition of being not alive needed to be corrected, you know. But I remember just thinking, you know, it's all good. There is no problem. There is no problem whatsoever. And I ended up where I ended up now through the path I've just shown you.
And you should totally go to Master Rinshan's temple to visit him, like Jadi did.
Yeah, I will do. Actually, we were planning on, and you know, I want to go with my wife. She works for the she's civil servant. So unfortunately, it opens up, which we hope soon, and we're planning to make the trip.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Thank you for your sharing, Amitofo.
No problem. Okay, I'll stop.
Yes, just a detail, like in Chinese Buddhism, especially Chinese Pure Land Buddhism, there is a link between Chan and Pure Land. No, actually, many Chan temples have Pure Land practices.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if Jeff, it seems that you have a very strong connection also with Chan, no?
Yeah.
Like with this notion of the Pure Land, of connecting with the Dharmakaya. And actually, there are many practices within Pure Land where you can actually sit in lotus posture, and you can recite the name of Amitabha Buddha, but not verbally, but with your heart, internally. Yes. And this can lead to samadhi and stuff. I don't know if you have practiced that, or if you divide your chant sessions and your chanting sessions, but you can definitely combine both. Yes, is what I would say. Yes.
Oh, I definitely need to learn more. That's why I'm here, to learn more.
But combine both is also difficult, like what Master Yin Guang said in the letter. Like if you don't realize enlightenment, you can't call it Chan. To be successful on the Chan path, you need to realize enlightenment through self-effort. Otherwise, it's a little bit like wasting your time. But knowing the theory is very good. The theory, emptiness, shunyata, all this is good. But whether we can really, realistically realize samadhi in this lifetime, we have to assess our ability, right? And also impermanence may happen tomorrow. So we still have to, in any way, right, to rely on the power of Amitabha Buddha. But and then by all means, if anyone wants to reach samadhi, go for it. I highly also encourage, and I also have some kind of aspiration, but also knowing my own habitual tendency and limitations, maybe
sharing the screen now, maybe
not in this lifetime, but definitely when I go to the Pure Land for sure.